short list of actors we like to work with. There's like a very short list.
Yeah.
So Vijay was there, Fahad is there.
Family Man season 3.
Drama hits the hardest when you are laughing. Happy and jumping and suddenly something happens, it just hits you harder.
We were never storytellers really. Engineering and moved on, got a job and all that stuff. So we discovered writing and directing later in life.
Please join me in welcoming two of Hindi cinema, a filmmaking duo who are among Hindi cinema's most distinct and exciting voices right now. So please join me in welcoming Raj and DK. I really love introducing these guys because it really makes you realize just how prolific they are. You know them for films like 99, Shore in the City, Go Goa Gone. But I want to talk to you just about everything they have done in the last 4 years, since 2019. While all of us have just been trying to get through each day in one piece, this is what they've done. They've created, written and directed and released 2 seasons of Amazon Prime Video's Family Man, which I'm guessing many of us are a fan of. At the end of 2020, during the lockdown, they made a segment for Amazon Prime Video's anthology Unpaused. In 2021, they launched a new branch of their production house, D2R Films, to support up-and-coming filmmakers. In 2021, they also released their Netflix film Cinema Bandi, a charming Telugu film which they produced. They made another show for Netflix coming out later this year called Guns and Gulaabs. They have another show coming out on Amazon this year which they produced called Gulkanda Tales. I'm not done, this is halfway through. They're currently developing Family Man Season 3, which all of us can't wait for. They're currently working on another Amazon series called Citadel with Varun Dhawan and Samantha, which is part of a larger cinematic universe with the Russo brothers, who I'm guessing a lot of you have heard of. And of course, there is Farzi, which we're here to talk about today.
I think you do this just to make us feel like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
No, but
why don't you just leave normal people?
No, but that's my first question.
I think we are overworking ourselves. I think we're working too
I just
hard.
realized this is too much.
This is literally my first question. Did I miss anything? And when do you guys sleep?
No, we sleep
Somebody
enough.
was saying
We
sleep is for the weak.
Yeah,
My friend there was saying sleep is for the
you
weak.
need to sleep so that you don't become weak, of course. Don't cultivate bad habits, guys.
Yes,
Everybody
yeah.
should sleep properly. But yeah, I think it's the part of the pandemic played a big role in helping us catch up with a lot of the development work. And once the pandemic went away, we had to start shooting and start working hard, and everything started falling in place at the same time. So yeah, hopefully this madness won't continue. We'll slow down a little bit.
No, it's just as an audience, we love the madness. It gets us great stories to watch.
No, just been working very hard in the last few years, last decade or so, because we used to make one film every 2 years, waiting for the stars and their dates and the breaks, and the waiting periods were so long that the only way we thought we could do something, when things get better or when the opportunities knock on the door, is to be prepared. So that's what we tend to do, is we just wrote a lot of this. All these ideas have been there for like a decade, 10 years, 8 years. Stree was there for like 12 years before we could make the film. So all these we write when we had the time. So I think all that is getting executed now.
But speaking of a decade, we did a front row session with you guys on Zoom in 2021, 2 days before Family Man Season 2 came out. And you were in the midst of shooting Farzi. And I asked you about it, and you said it's one of your favorite scripts that you guys have worked on. And it was obviously, of course, supposed to be a film that was supposed to come out, I believe, 8 years ago, which then got shelved and now has been made into a show. So how does it feel that almost a decade later, this story is finally almost ready for the world to, finally experience?
Well, we hadn't given up at that point. It was not like, it got shelved on its own. There was everything we wanted for this film at that point didn't fall in place. And we always, like you said, this is one of our favorite scripts, or perhaps our favorite script as of now.
Yeah.
And but we didn't want to just go ahead and just make it and be done with it either. So
We knew this was going to happen. We always knew Farzi was going to happen no matter what. A lot of ideas drop off as you grow, mature, you want to make something better, bigger, challenge yourselves, but this couple of stories just stayed. Farzi, we knew it was always going to happen. I think as feature filmmakers, you tend to take any story that comes to you, like an idea that comes to you, and put it into a feature film format.
Yeah.
But Farzi wasn't fitting. It was too much of a canvas, too big of a world. So thankfully, once the series world started, 3-4 years ago, I think we found the right medium to talk about the story.
No, I just thought it's such an interesting, exciting place to live with a story for that long. For 10 years, and finally, it comes out. It must be a very, exciting week for you guys. I also want to ask about how your approach has changed to telling these long-form stories, because at this point, you really are sort of lean, mean streaming machines. You're working on multiple shows at once as creators, writers, directors. But I imagine when you first started Family Man season 1, it was as part of the first wave of sort of long form series. It was still a novelty. It was uncharted territory for you as storytellers, for us as the audience as well. In 2019, we'd only seen a few shows. So how has your approach to telling sort of a long form series changed, either as writers or directors, from say Family Man season 1 to now Farzi or the multiple other shows you're working on?
No, season 1 was like a reinventing the wheel. Because nobody had done a series, nobody we know had done series. So it's like we had to figure out how do you make a series. I was Googling it those days. How do you write a series? How do you structure an episode? And it was as basic as that. So our walls were filled with plots, subplots, characters. How do we design it? So we were approaching it like engineers, like reverse engineer a good show that we liked and say, how do we arrive at this? How do we make something more than what is out there? Because like I always said, India always leapfrogged. Like we, as a country, we went from STD booths to 4G or 3G. There is no cordless phones in between. Like America and the rest of the world had HBO, Showtime, all these things. We had just had daytime soaps and feature films, and now we have premium series. So I think we had to somehow reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, the process has become more fluid and easier now because we've been doing this now, so our writer rooms are more fluid. We're not reinventing the basics now because the basics have already come to us, and we are now on the next step. So the Family Man season 1 development process took much longer than than season 2 and than Farzi. Farzi was probably developed much faster than all these other shows. And even Gulkanda Tales took a long time because it was also something we had started earlier, and it's a new kind of a beast actually. It's something new even for us. It's not just about getting the script ready, it was also the script and the designs and the visuals, and everything was forming part of the process of getting ready. It was not something you just write and you go and shoot either. It's a very art intensive, graphics intensive show.
I'm very excited for that, I have to say, from everything I know about it. Just coming back to Farzi, I was thinking about it, and from the outside, it looks like your flashiest show in the sense that you're working with, the biggest stars, at least in a show. You've got Shahid, Kapoor, Vijay, Sethupathi as well. So how does your approach to a show, to the fabric of a show change, or does it change at all when you are working with bigger stars? Does it change sort of, in terms of their perception, their fan following, I guess the expectation that might come with them? Does anything change?
I hope not, because we write the characters and stories first and then look to see who will fit it. Anyway, we are not the kind of guys, stars would come and say, give me a hero entry. We can't do it, I don't know how to do it. Give me a song, like a dance and song. I'm not going to do it. So I think now, thankfully, when a star or so-called stars come and talk to you about it or want to do something with us, they know they want to do something that we are doing versus making us do what they want to do. That's what used to happen in the early years. Every script, 99, showed in the city, go on. We're going up to them with the scripts and they'll all be trying to change it into the format that they want us to do it in. So, no, absolutely not. I mean, you get a little greedy because you're looking at Vijay Sethupathi and KK Menon and Shahid and all, and you're thinking these guys are so good at this stuff. Maybe we can make him do this also. But besides that, I don't think we are catering to...
And also the format, this format is such that it's a long format, it's there for a prolonged time, and the audience needs to actually be immersed into your character, into your story for say 8 hours, as opposed to a film with an interval break in between where you get popcorn. It's not like that, right? So it's more personal than that. And the actors also, whoever wants to do this series format, they're aware of that. So be it a Shahid or be it a Varun, they already know that this is going to be different. What they want is they want to understand the character, get to the depth of the character and be the character rather than think about this sells, or whatever it is, an approach that might go into making a film. When it comes to a series, everybody knows that they're just as much as we know as writers that it's a story that sells and the character that sells. Actors also know that, so they just want to do justice to their character.
Yeah. It must be quite wonderful as filmmakers that you started off your careers with stars trying to ape your scripts around them, and now you've got sort of people coming to you realizing that they want to fall into your stories. But speaking of sort of getting into the depth of a character, another thing that really sticks out with most people when it comes to a Raj and DK project, especially a Raj and DK show, is the casting. You really take such interesting actors and stars and sort of showcase and present them in ways that we may have never seen them before. And every actor obviously has their own individual process. So what is the key to sort of forming that shorthand with an actor? I assume briefing a Shahid is very different to working with a Vijay Sethupathi, to a Samantha, to a Varun, to a Manoj Bajpayee. So what as a filmmaker, what goes into sort of really finding out what an actor is looking for and how to form that shorthand with them?
I think it starts off with an idea that where we put the actor in a place where they haven't done something like that before. Right now, Manoj Bajpayee will look like a perfect fit for the family man, but if you look at it, he hadn't done comedy per se. He was always a serious, a drama, and so like a guy who's done a lot of drama. And so when we wanted humor, it was exciting for him and for us, and it came through brilliantly. Right? He's hilarious without doing a single comic expression. It's a deadpan delivery and the whole thing. So idea is to put him in something that he also is excited to do, and so are we. Same thing with Samantha. She hadn't done anything.
And same thing with Neeraj Madhav, the bad guy in season 1 of Family Man. So if you notice, what we also like to do and strive to do is take actors, put them in roles that they have not done before, rather than say, oh, Manoj Bajpayee has been a military guy or a cop in 4 films is a perfect one. We would actually say, let's not cast him in that role, let's make him do something else, would be the thought process, right?
Yeah.
And so in a way, that's good for the actors also. They enjoy that. They also like literally every actor we've worked with so far have appreciated and suddenly acknowledged the fact that, oh, I've never done this before.
Yeah.
So how do I go? So it's a new thing for them. So they also are now enthusiastic.
I think it's also a trick for us that now that they're in a slightly different area, they look to us for a bit more inputs than saying I know it all.
It's a mind game.
Yeah, it's a mind game. It's a little bit of power game there.
No, but just in terms of, I guess, doing something different, I spoke to Suman Kumar, who is your co-writer on both scenes of Family Man as well as Farzi, and I wanted to understand what goes into this distinct Raj and DK tonality. This voice you have, where you're never in any scene you're watching, you're never very far away from laughing out loud, but you're also never very far from a very emotional scene, and it's a very delicate balance. And he said that it comes from their relentless pursuit and an unwavering commitment to keeping it fresh, to ensure that people don't feel that this is something they've seen before. So what goes into sort of, and that feels very accurate to your body of work. So what goes into sort of consistently, holding on to that freshness, coming up with something that really truly is new, and what are the biggest challenges of achieving freshness?
I mean, falling into the rut would be a problem, right? I mean, Family Man season 1 happened. Now Family Man season 2, probably the first draft of the script, there were a lot of things that were flowing in the same way as a Family Man season 1.
Yeah.
And we were all quick to realize that if you just give more of season 1 and season 2, at some point they're going to get bored, right? Even if it is the same characters, even if it is the same kid, Athar or Dhriti or Shrikant or his wife, even though they are the same characters, they cannot suddenly overnight become somebody else.
Yeah.
We still had to find new challenges for them or new traits for them to bring out so that the characters stand fresh.
It was also the first time we were in a sequel territory.
Yeah.
Everybody said, give me a sequel to Stree or Go Go Gone, and we were always staying away from it. It's because of our greed to make something new. It's easy to take on something that worked and kind of do it again and again, and I don't want to be known for making the Family Man season 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
I'd rather be known to be Family Man, Farzi, Gulkanda, whatever it is. So it's I know the fans want it, so hence we have to work to balance it out. And the Family Man was a bigger challenge for us because even for Manoj, that we have done it, it worked great. Now, how do you make it better
Or make it different,
Yeah.
different and equally good, right? The good thing about Family Man season 1 was that you don't know what to expect and you got something new. In season 2, you're expecting something, and if you're getting what you expect, maybe yes, to some extent you might be happy, but to some extent you might just be like, ठीक है यार, time pass, right?
Yeah.
But
Why do you
so
think-
even if you have to get something that's unexpected even there, and that's a little harder.
Expectedly
Yeah.
unexpected.
No, why do
Yeah.
you think we're taking so long to make season 3?
I didn't think of
And
that. 'cause-
speaking of the other point you mentioned about how it jumps from comedy to drama, the very first instance that it occurred to us, I mean, I remember distinctly in Show in the City.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, when the film released, we would go to theaters and just stand by the entrance and stand in the back and just watch, right? Watch the audiences watching it in the first couple of days, and we're, you know, places they are laughing, places they are suddenly going all silent and scared and shocked, and so you're enjoying, observing and seeing what the audiences are liking, and I mean, generally enjoying the experience of watching the audiences. There is a particular sequence there that people pointed out to me afterwards, saying it's funny. Like it's the sequence where these three guys decide that they have a bomb. What do we do? Find a place in Bombay where there is just enough space so you can blow it up. It's a silly, absurd idea, but that's
Satire,
what they
I
do.
guess, yeah.
And they do it, and it's fun.
Until it isn't.
The bomb is about to go off, and kid comes there. Suddenly the theater, boom, it settles down. So it goes from a fun thing in 10 seconds, it goes to a very serious moment, and people are like, they're really afraid now that the kid's gonna die. It's not a comedy anymore. It's not like a comedy where nothing will happen, right?
In fact,
So-
we continued that. Like
Yeah.
the Tushar in that role goes home. He's feeling bad about what happened to the kid. He thinks that something has happened, so he goes and puts some money where the kid's leg is broken or gone, and he's walking away, but the kid is up. Nothing has happened to him, and it's a weirdly funny moment in this extremely dramatic scene. So we found that idea of mashing or navigating through emotions and genres within a scene,
Yeah.
within an episode nowadays. So I think it's great. As audience, that's what I would like to see.
Yeah.
Hence,
Yeah,
we
also,
are-
yeah, I think drama hits the hardest when you are laughing just before it, I think. If you're already in the mood of, okay, I'm already in a sad mood, of course, you'll still feel it, but you got to feel a lot more sadder. But if you're happy and jumping and suddenly something happens, it just hits you harder.
I think it's something we spoke about last time. It made me think of that a quote from Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who made Fleabag, where she said, "When you make people laugh, they give you a part of their heart, and so they're sort of eating out of your hands, and then you can punch them in the gut with drama."
Right, there
See,
you
we
go.
need to speak more like that.
Yeah, we need to have cool lines like
Yeah.
that, but...
You have
yeah.
plenty of cool lines. We're quoting them all the time. I wish I had them on a T-shirt. No, because it is a very delicate tonal balance, right? You know what you do. It never feels jarring. It never feels, the comedy never takes you out of the drama or vice versa. But I was just trying to understand where that comes from. But is there, because you have such a distinct voice, because at this stage with your body work, people know what a Raj DK project looks and feels like. Is there ever a downside to that? Are you ever pigeonholed by the industry that they can make a quirky comedy, and there's certain type of projects they feel that they just think that there is one world of storytelling that you're associated with?
Actually, no. Like, we have consciously avoided doing something a second time that we've already done before.
Yeah.
We've always been jumping the gun. Like, again, take the example of Showed in the City. Take the example 99, our first film. It was a crime comedy. We went to Showed in the City, which was a much more serious, gritty, dirty, violent take on the city. And just when critical reviews are pouring in and awards are coming in, now people think this is the kind of cinema we're going to make. And what did we do? We went and made Go Goa Gone, right? A zombie comedy.
We said, like, let's do zombies, let's do slackers. In fact, the whole idea was when all the actors we were approaching, they were all saying, give me a role that is so meaty that I'm head and shoulders above the rest of the cast. The whole hero-led thing.
So you gave them slackers.
So I said, why not make you a slacker? Nobody took it. So we said, like, here is a hero who doesn't want to do shit.
Yeah.
Nothing. He does nothing. He just can't even get to the remote because it's too far. So we thought, let's do that. Why not be a little disruptive? Because the fun is, we have other films that to watch, that if you like certain genre, you go watch it again and again. But why not do something, eat a new dish?
Yeah.
I guess, I don't know.
Yeah.
But speaking of doing something differently, I want to ask you about something I tweeted 2 years ago, which was at a time where everyone was talking pan India, pan India, pan India. I said something like, nobody is doing a true blue pan-India story like you guys, and I was referring to The Family Man, because at this point, it feels like the pan-India blockbuster has become a bit of a gimmick. You know, it really is about tick boxes and trying to appeal to multiple markets and through casting and things like that. But if you look at what you guys have done with both seasons of Family Man, you're crossing languages. Family Man, season 1 is sort of Hindi, it's English, it's Malayalam. Season 2, you know, you have Tamil. You're shooting in different places, and it never feels like an outsider's perspective, and that, you know, reaches to the casting as well. So what goes into really having a pan-India story, which is in the very DNA of the project, rather than just sort of a tick box?
I think once the series whole game opened up, the first thing it hit everybody, viewers and creators, is the censorship. There was like this whole, you can do anything in a series. So there was a rush to put a lot of violence and language and nudity and all that stuff. So of course, because boundaries are lifted, right? So for us, one of the first things that hit us was like, why don't we go across India? There's so many great actors across, and why can't we assimilate all kinds of languages? Why can't it be subtitled whenever it has to be subtitled? Why does everybody have to speak the same language? So suddenly we had a huge bouquet of great stars, great actors across the states. And that for me was, I guess pan India is a new word, but that was it. That was it. Let's go across the country and let's create stories that spread, because we've never had it. A feature film was localizing everything into a very specific format and very specific actors also, set of actors. So suddenly we discovered this whole minefield of...
Yeah, I mean, besides actors, also the story. The Family Man particularly is not a show or a story it's not a Bombay story.
Yeah.
It's an India story,
Yeah.
right? I mean, day in, day out, you read in the news, there's an attack somewhere in the north, in the northeast, in the south.
Yeah.
So it's an India story, and this is, in a way, it's a central agency, right? So even though the characters are based in Bombay, because that's where we are at, very quickly, the problems you're dealing with comes from the north or from the south, and we already knew that this is going to be a show that has to just address a problem in that place rather than bring all the problems to where the protagonist is in Bombay. There's no terrorist attack in Bombay. That's not the story.
Yeah.
There's a terrorist attack in India.
Yeah.
It initially turns out to be Kashmir, then it turns out to be Delhi, but it's not Bombay where the actor is, right, or the hero is, right? That we knew, and season 2, and even when we were developing season 1, we thought if this does well, we should explore South for season 2, and if that does well, we should explore the Northeast for season 3, were thoughts we already had.
Yeah.
We didn't have the story in great detail, but we knew we were going to explore different parts of India for each season, you know, provided the first season does well.
Yeah.
And thankfully, so we got to explore season 2 in Tamil Nadu because there was already a plan that we had.
All the more reason for us to be insanely excited about season 3. The other thing I was thinking about with your body of work is, you know, I realized we'd never seen a Raj and DK massive blockbuster, you know, because that sort of big spectacle, because I really feel like, you know, with your voices, there's something so interesting you could do with that sort of canvas. So I guess, obviously, you know, with A Gentleman, you did delve into that space, but especially in today's world. So I guess the question is, do you guys miss the big screen, and will we get to see the big Raj and DK blockbuster?
Of course we missed the big screen.
Of course, yeah.
This was, we were supposed to do one series. And then
Well, that worked out well.
we dropped 2 films to make The Family Man, saying that this is it, this is the new format, this is what we're excited about. So we dropped 2 films to make The Family Man. Before you know, there is this and that and that. But we were enjoying the storytelling because the boundaries were lifted. We are.
So we are enjoying it.
I'm looking forward to the big screen. But yeah, I'm saying the boundaries were lifted, so we could play with the characters, subplots. There was filmmaking back in for us, like how we were experiencing in, let's say, Shore in the City times, where we could do what we wanted to do with any actors we wanted to do without having to worry about this is how a film should be to open on a Friday. Because more and more you ask people, anytime you ask people, what's your favorite film? Nobody's going to tell you the biggest blockbuster. They're going to tell you what touched them, what they liked, what they watch again. So that's the films we want to make. And if it makes money, great, you know, or not. That was always our what was in our head. So I don't know, even if you end up making a feature film, it will be like, let us make it so that my Friday is going to be so much. We'll still make an entertaining film. We'll still make a...
Yeah, even when we made Stree, like, obviously we wrote and produced it, it wasn't made with the intention saying, these are all the boxes we need to tick for it to be, right? We thought it's a small enough film that thoda bahut chal gaya to we are fine.
Yeah.
That was the attitude.
We were
right?
like, as long as
Yeah.
we get the money, everybody gets
The
their
producer
money
gets
back.
the money back, we are okay.
We're
You
good.
managed that quite okay. I guess.
And then imagine somebody trade magazines coming and giving you trophies that is 100 crore club. I was like, okay, I'll take it. But that wasn't the game.
No, I didn't even mean in terms of money or box office. I just meant,
The spectacle.
yeah, you just can't help of, if you could choose filmmakers who could helm massive projects, who could really do something very interesting with it. Your names came to mind, so I just wondered if
I'd
you
love
guys.
to, like for example, Cyrodiil that
Yeah.
we are working on right now is supposed to be an action series.
Yeah.
I mean, it could as well be an action film for the theaters.
Yeah.
Farzi would do great in a theater because if I don't know how to compress it, but if you could make a feature film out of it, it would do very well. It is still a big screen extravaganza, I guess. The biggest fear is when the bigger actors or whatever come in and budgets go skyrocketing to 100, 200, 300 crores budget. That's when the pressure comes back in to make it work. So we'll have to figure the balance, I guess. I mean, we'll have to still figure a way to make a spectacle with a decent budget and not go crazy shit about
That is still a Raj DK project.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that, yeah. One of the stars we were talking to, a huge star, about a feature film, and they loved it. The very first sitting, loved it. It's like, oh my God, we got to do this. It's superb. Love it. Let's do it. And we met a bunch of times. We want to do it. He said something interesting that, listen, on the way, it's going to be a long journey, but on the way, you have to protect your story because I can't guarantee you that. And nobody is going to guarantee you. Protect this story because it's good. It's going to be diluted, it's going to be changed, it's going to be trampled on. So, if you can do that, let's do it. So, yeah.
I guess this is where all of us start guessing who that big star was, but we will use our imaginations. I'll ask one last question, we'll open it up to the audience.
Yeah.
We were talking about Pan India. I wanted to get your perspective on Hindi cinema, where it's at today, because last year there was so much conversation about, obviously they're talking about sort of films in the South being so successful, and there is just that notion right now that mainstream Hindi cinema has a bit of a disconnect with the audiences and what they want. And then obviously, now we've had Pathaan, which has obviously done so well, but what is your take on that? Does that worry you in any way, that you feel there is some sort of disconnect there, or are you hopeful? Is this a phase?
No, I think the audience's viewing habits and preferences kind of changed during the pandemic, and for better or worse, we'll know eventually, but it changed, and so certain kind of movies and stories that were working pre-pandemic stopped working. Yeah. And I think all the films that we saw in 2021 or 2022 releasing were mostly films that were conceived and made pre-pandemic, and now people were slowly realizing that this is not working. At the same time, South cinema was, I think it was always meant to happen. I mean, South is offering a different, new kind of cinema.
I mean, you're talking about the films being, if the South flavor is going to last and all that stuff, right?
It's more, I mean, that as well, and these are very exciting stories. It's more just that notion that a lot of people are talking about, that, there is a bit of a disconnect between what mainstream Hindi films are and what audiences want.
I don't know, it's just catching up. Yeah. I think we're in such a big flux that suddenly there are so many formats of watching a film or a filmmaking, like you got from YouTube series to Amazon Netflix series to feature films. You have so many formats. I always say that this is a golden age for filmmakers because there's nobody out there who has even decently good enough, who can write, direct, shoot, edit, anything. They have a place right now. We've never had. This is problem of plenty. We don't have assistant directors. We're struggling to have. So, it's just everybody, it's such a great time for creating stories. And I think we're in the flux. We're just playing guessing game. Whatever works, that is working. This is not working. But I think good thing that has happened is that I think for once the film has spread across the country. Doesn't matter what language you make it in. If it's good, it's going to be good. If it's good, it's going to be consumed. If it doesn't have a star, it doesn't matter. So that is a good thing out of it. Versus for a Kannada film to work, or a Telugu film to work, or even now a Hindi film to work. So I think it's just a matter of. I think we're in a flux. I think we should play guessing game and say, this is what I'm going to make 2 years from now. I think we should look ahead 2 years from now and say...
You should just think if it's a film that you want to watch. And, I mean, as a filmmaker, if it's a film I want to watch, I would make it. And the rest will follow.
You mentioned it's it's an exciting time for creators. It is also an insanely exciting time for audiences because we have so much
Yes.
storytelling to dive into, like Farzi dropping in 2 days. I think we will open it up to audiences if anyone has a question.
So, sir, I had a question. Like you just mentioned, because of the OTT platform, boundaries have opened up, and you're getting to work with stars from all over the country. Was that in mind when Vijay Sethupath's character was written in Farzi? Because I'm really curious to know.
The character existed, like the character obviously existed, but where is he from was something we had not fixed yet, because we were open to the idea of casting and then developing the character further based on that actor. So the basic, like if you see tomorrow day after tomorrow when you watch the show, you'd realize that there are so many things about the character which are universal. Those were already there. But whether he's a Tamilian who's in Bombay, or whether he's a Malayali, whether he's a Telugu guy, whether he's a Bengali, that was the part we had left it open for the next draft after we cast the actor.
Yeah.
And Vijay Sethupathi was
We had a short
one of
list
our-
short list of actors we like to work with. There's like a very short list.
Yeah.
So Vijay was there, Fahad is there, a bunch of these people that you want to work with.
Are we allowed to ask who else is on the shortlist? I heard Fahad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Fahad's
flipped
definitely in
out.
the list.
Family Man season 3.
Dulkar was in the list and we worked with him as well.
So, it's
So
more
do you always do that? Do you always sort of conceive a character but then leave, I guess, an aspect of it open to when the casting is in place so you can mold it around the actor?
Yeah, all
lately,
the time. Even like a trivia that I don't know how many people know was in season 1 of Family Man, the character of JK Talpade was originally written as a Bengali character, a Ghosh. And we had written many drafts with him in that. And as we were auditioning for actors, we were looking for Bengali actors, like, who would fit the character. And somewhere there,
It's more like you saw Sharib and you say like, I really want to work with this guy.
Yeah.
So let's change this character to work with him. So it's that.
and then we asked him, where are you from? He said, I'm from Bombay. I'm like, okay, that doesn't help. So what other like ethnicity that you can do? Like obviously you cannot be a Gujarati, you cannot be anything. And he said, I can be a Marathi guy, I know Marathi.
Yeah.
So we made him a Marathi guy. So you tweak the character to suit the actor, of course.
I think like most people, JK is one of my favorite characters. And if you ever kill him, we will have a problem.
We almost did, right?
Any other
We
questions?
thought we'll go Game of Thrones on him.
Hi. Just wanted to hand over my books. I've been trying to do this for the last 2 years.
Oh God.
So
Sure.
this has been inspired by its three.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
This is authored by me. And
Thanks so much.
Istifa. All right. Istifa by Sunil Kutti Menon.
Any other questions?
I just wanted to ask you something that Suchin has already asked, just an extension of that. So when you say you're working with a bigger star and they are warning you about the effects that can come up to your script and the process of work. So how much of it is a collaboration when you're working with a bigger star, like Shahid Kapoor and Farzi, or Saif Ali Khan in Go Goa Gone, and some other characters that you've worked with earlier. So when you're working with other actors, how much of it is what you have written, what you have in mind in terms of your direction, and how much of it is what they bring to it?
Right. It's not a function of the star at all. It's really a function of the actor. And it doesn't have to be a big star. Basically, for all the actors that we worked with, that we cast, it doesn't matter how big. It could be Shahid Kapoor, it could be the guy who plays Shahid Kapoor's friend, who's the first time, literally like a first, second
Like if
time
you see
actor.
that guy, Bhuvan Arora,
Bhuvan Arora, yes.
you'll see him. He's improv the hell out of the character.
Yeah,
so we
so-
let him be.
Yeah, I think the best thing you can do for a character as writers and directors is first let the actors own up to the character and bring their own extra energy and extra perception or perspective to the character. That's the best thing we can do. And that's why I think we always used to work with actors, good actors. It doesn't matter how big the star is, but ultimately they're actors.
That's what series has given us also, is that you get these actors who are now able to take our stories and elevate them to another level that you didn't expect it to be. Lot of unexpected moments on the set. Earlier, I remember some of the movies where I used to be the best actor on the set, and that's awful. Like, I'm not good. So I'm telling him, "Can you do it like me?" And he's like, "Okay, what do you want me to do?" So it was. I was thinking, is this how you make films? And then you discover these great actors.
Hi Raj, hi DK.
Hi.
I am an aspiring filmmaker, and like you guys, I've also never had a filmy background. So I wanted to know more about your breakthrough journey into the film industry, and what kind of mindset would you recommend to an outsider filmmaker in general?
Wow, it's a tough
I
one,
can
right?
rattle off a few things. What we learned is that I wouldn't have one story. I would have multiple stories. I remember a friend who had a really good script that he peddled for like 7 years. It never got made. I'd rather have you have 3, 4 ideas and not be, be flexible in the ideas, have a range that you could put out. That was a big deal. I think that came from engineering background. Ki, let's have options. Let's not just be saying, I want to make zombies. Nobody would have made it. You had to prove and show in the city to let you make a crazy ass film like that, right? So
I think that's also why we have all these scripts that are readily turning into movies and shows now, because we've been sitting on all these ideas.
I would encourage collaborations.
Yeah.
It's a very lonesome journey as a filmmaker. We learn filmmaking with each other, but otherwise it is a collaborative world these days. So it's good to have a friend, a writing partner, editing partner, directing partner, someone to work with. So you have joint forces. And write every day.
And then hard work, I would say. I mean,
Just make writing.
It's not going to be easy at all. I mean, imagine the hardest thing you have had to do. I mean, if you're very young, you probably really studied for an exam and aced it, and probably struggled hard and got a job. Think of all the hard things in life. This is going to be harder than all of those things, because there is no set formula or a set syllabus or a set path. A lot of things have to fall in place.
One thought that comes to me is that we were never storytellers, really. Like I said, engineering, and moved on, got a job and all that stuff. So we discovered writing and directing later in life. But I do believe all Indians are filmmakers at heart. So we can all make films. So that's the confidence we started with. But I think the only way to get from there to the next step is hard work. Not even hard work, diligence. You like something, write it down. You think of a thought, write it down. Sit on it. See what comes out of it. So the more time you spend on it, the more prepped you are.
To me, that really is a big part of the Raj and DK story. It speaks a lot to the power of writing. That you've both spoken about how for many years, when the calls didn't come, when the opportunities didn't come, you kept writing, you kept creating stories, and now when they do come, like you said, you've got so much to shoot. So it just speaks to the fact that that's always in your control. Trying to find a great story, and then if you keep working on that, eventually the opportunity has to fall.
Nobody recognizes us as writers. They always think we're like directors and producers. We're writers first.
Yeah, and writing is what takes most of our day, actually, most of our time. We spend so many months writing, and then a smaller chunk of time actually directing and producing and everything.
So it really is just about, at the end of the day, you and a blank page.
Yeah,
Sorry? Yeah.
exactly.
Hi, my name is Shada Shetty. Good evening.
Hi.
So I have 2 questions. Is that okay?
You had earlier too. Sure, please go ahead.
So my first question is, you talked about how series give you an open format and there's more freedom, but there's a lot of films that release strictly on OTT now without being under the scrutiny of the big screen and Bollywood mainstream format. So why would you choose a web series only format when you can also write films for the OTT platforms?
Depends
I
on the
have
story.
a frank answer. Do you remember any good OTT films versus good OTT series? For some reason, it baffles me that a series is making a bigger impact at home. I don't know why. Maybe somebody will change it. But
Also, I think it's a natural home. As in, yes, there are movies that you can make for OTT, and it does play on OTT, and the examples are good ones are there, like Irishman, Martin Scorsese makes it and puts it on. There are good examples, but we are all conditioned that the primary home for a movie is a theater, and a primary home for a series, and literally the only home for a series is any platform at home in a TV screen or an iPad, right? So this feels like the natural home. Yes, you can make a movie for a platform, and it can be good also. There's nothing stopping it, but it feels like your first goal should be to make it for a theater.
I think if you start designing it for the small screen, for the OTT, a feature film, you start designing it, then make it, and then say, you know what, it won't work in theaters, let's put it here, and actually design it for home viewing, maybe it'll work.
Wouldn't films have more freedom just like web series on the OTT?
Yes, that's the point that need to be explored.
It would, especially if you design it. But a lot of the films that come on OTT perhaps have not been conceived thinking I'm making a film for OTT. A lot of people would have thought I'll make it for theaters, and at some point said, you know what, let me put it on OTT. So they haven't maybe explored the liberty it would have offered them.
Right. My second question is, I love the movie Stree. It was something really fresh and new that I watched. So I just want to know your thought process behind it, because I remember before it was releasing, everyone was talking about a horror comedy being released, and it was just two genres merging and just something new. So I just want to know your thought process behind writing that script.
Let me say a long answer very fast. This story had existed in our heads forever. Okay, it was a silly thing that was happening in our hometown Tirupati, right? I used to see walls, oh Sri Repura, I'm like Kalana. I'm like, what? I asked everybody, what the hell is this? Nobody knew what the fuck it is, but they were all scared that some Sri is going to come at night. It was as silly as that. It remained in my head forever. We used to talk about it and all that, but there was no great story. It was fine. It's silly, it's cute, whatever, and it's a gag. The idea became solidified. Suddenly there was a really, really strong film when why Stree was attacking them became clear in our heads. Like one day it just hit us that what if she's going after men, and maybe she was wronged earlier and all that. She was going after men, so suddenly it became a gender reversal story where it's time where men are afraid to go out.
Yeah,
Where you put them in the woman's place, so it's a big satire for us. Yeah, you're saying?
Yeah, it became larger than a horror comedy. I mean, yeah, horror comedies could be fun too, but I think in the case of Stree, it became bigger than just a funny film. Besides the horror and comedy, I think there was a larger message that really, really resonated well with everybody because it's so obvious. I mean, there is a dialogue where the husband is telling the wife when she goes out, it's like, Jaldi aa jana, mujhe dar lagta hai. She's like, okay, keep the door locked. To the husband, stay inside, don't step out. I mean, literally everybody in the theater was, absorbing the scene and realizing how true it is in the reverse sense, right? So I think that's one of the biggest factors for that film.
Because we were producing a film for the first time, we thought, at least now, take out the rules, take out everything that works. Let's just put it out there. Let's make a small film and let's see how it works. So that was the whole thought process behind Stree. And yeah, it was good to see. We were always told that, you guys are ahead of your time. That's why your movie didn't work. I'm like, is that a compliment or are you saying?
Yeah, finally, I think somehow our stories stopped being ahead of their times and they were just.
So Stree was that for me, that borderline key.
Yeah.
But it was so funny and scary at the same time. I was so sure it's going to work. One of those films where you feel so confident,
Speaking of ahead of your time, I'm going to counter your point and tell you why I don't like Stree. Because it was a really good horror comedy that inspired a bunch of really bad horror comedies. So you guys have just inspired a genre, a lot of which is not very good. So I think you should take responsibility for that.
I should. Yeah. You know what we did? We had a 7-film deal from a major company saying, let's make 7 horror comedies. I said, no, thank you.
Thank you for that.
So I was like, really, 7-film deal? I said, you're going to make same horror comedy 7 times? I said, no, I'd rather make something else. So yeah, I did. We were responsible enough to not do
No, but as in it's one of those things, it's a very, very good thing that it's inspired a bunch of not as good
easy,
things.
Right? Horror is the easiest genre to make across the world. Whenever independent filmmakers want to make a film, it's easy because there's strong emotion. Scaring people is such a strong emotion. You need little money and you make a horror film all across, from Blair Witch to, all
and there's a lot of cheesy pleasure that you can.
Basic stuff.
Putting blood and gore. I think everybody enjoys doing that.
Yeah.
Deep inside.
So when you take out the layering or thought, you are left with that. So
but it's also what you did with that cheesy vibe, and what you did with that story that's so wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming for this.
Thank you.
And thank the both of you for, Farzi is obviously releasing in 2 days for everyone, but also for all the stories you've told us that have sort of taken us through a very difficult time over the last few years, and all the stories you have planned for this year, which we can't wait for. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.